If the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say this was their finest hour.
We stand for Queen,
country, and video games. BRB UK.
Worse teeth,
better accents.
Hello and indeed ahoy hoy, and welcome you young scallywags and wagettes to BigRedBarel UK, episode 288. It's a thing. I'm Dan, I'm one of your hosts, and I'm joined as usual by Timothy J. Hibbs.
Hello.
How many VR games are we going to be talking about this week? Because that will dictate how well I am feeling about the world as a whole.
Well, then you're not feeling good this week because I got a lot of VR games to talk about. Ha ha ha. I've been having some fun this week with VR, but anyway, we'll come on to that.
Right. The Coleman.
WrestleMania!
Oh, God, I'm never going to finish this bloody podcast.
WrestleMania! Also, birthdays and WrestleMania.
Yeah, and it was Coleman's birthday yesterday.
Birthdays. Birthday mania.
Birthday mania, brother.
Oh, yeah.
Happy birthday, Mr. Coleman.
Happy birthday, Mr. Coleman. Do you insist on doing like WrestleMania? You have all of your birthdays in Roman numerals.
No, but I'm going to start.
Oh,
yeah. It's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea.
I did once have a WrestleMania birthday.
Did you? How was your 21st?
Was it good? In my 20s. I think I was like 27, 28.
Oh dear. Doesn't make it any better, Coleman.
I had a cake with Hulk Hogan on it.
I know. It could have been this week, Coleman. I would have believed it. It's not beyond the realms of possibilities.
News, because Tim has threatened us with VR. We need to get through everything else.
Also, it's Res tomorrow, so tomorrow from record Friday to Saturday, Sunday. So we got to wrap up quick today.
Got to go to Res.
Yes, indeed. So you will have seen Tim Coleman there, but not me, because I am in London. Well, no, I'm not in London. I'm in Slough. I'm in Slough, wishing I was still in London.
And it's your dad's birthday.
Yes, it is my daddy-o's birthday.
Happy birthday, Daddy Gibbons.
What? Have you and my dad been having a relationship that I need to know about?
Papa Gibbons? Is that a better one?
No.
I thought of Daddy Gibbons. I said it before I thought about what I was saying, and then I realised that's what I call you.
Uh-huh. If you two are giving yourself birthday treats with one another again, I'm going to be deeply unhappy.
Anyway, in celebration of your dad's birthday this weekend, I thought I'd give you the decent headline.
And that is Xbox backwards compatibility.
No!
The other one is Destiny 2's next expansion got announced. It kind of got leaked everywhere. It's going to be May the 8th. Turns out it is May the 8th.
I got Warmind all over my shoes.
You did get Warmind all over your shoes, which is not the name everyone thought it was going to be. So details as of the moment are sparse, but it sounds like Bungie are taking a page out of Ubisoft's playbook, as they did with The Division, and are kind of feeding themselves humble pie. They're having a community summit, is what they call it, where apparently they're inviting the great and the good of the Destiny community on, and also people who have been very critical of Destiny, apparently, to Bungo headquarters, where they're going to discuss things and get them to playtest stuff that hasn't actually been locked in to its final form as yet. So
when are you and Tim going to Bungie? Tim being the most critical and you being the biggest fan.
I wasn't invited. If Tim's been invited, I'm going to be very off.
We need a man who detests Destiny.
Exactly.
I'm terrible at games and I hate your game, and I'm here to say how much I don't like it.
But anyway, so May 8th is the release. There's going to be a teaser trailer on April 24th, some form of live stream, and Bungie trying to not be as apologetic, well, trying to be apologetic for everything they've done. Well, I don't think they've given themselves enough time. It's not going to be a Taken Kings level turnaround. It's going to be a bit of an interim stop in between. We shall see. I think the real goodness is going to come in September, when they basically turn the game back into Destiny 1, as far as I can work out, if you look at the roadmap. Well, they're saying, yeah, we're going to change the weapon slots back to how they were.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes, by all means.
Okay, so first of all, Warmind. Do you think that links into the big computery Warmind with the red rope licorice everywhere?
Indeed. Well, no. So the computery Warmind, or the major computery Warmind, is a military AI called Rasputin.
Oh wait, stop. Can you, while you're explaining, can you do your Anorak voice, please?
I think you'll find that the Warmind in question is none other than the military superintelligence Rasputin. tin, who, at the end of as the Golden Age was crashing to a close, as the darkness encroached on human civilization,
It's not too far off from your actual voice.
he decided off. He decided to sacrifice humanity to save, well, what was a bit of humanity. He basically killed. He decided a load of humanity weren't worth it.
Okay.
All right. I don't know whether or not the strawberry laces of Siva are coming back or not. People think there is, only because they've seen the colour red on the promo image. I don't think Siva's going to be involved. Siva is the, to use a really crap quasi-pulp sci-fi term, the bio-digital plague that infected the Fallen, who are an enemy race, and they became all robotized, and it turned into a raid that nearly drove me over the edge in last year's Extra Life.
That infamous raid.
Anyway, so more news will be forthcoming at some point in the coming weeks, I'm sure.
The other question was going to be what happened to season 2 if this is season 3, but then I remembered was it Curse of Osiris, Trials of Osiris?
There was season 2 before season 3.
Yeah, I forgot that happened.
Yeah, that expansion. Basically, the expansion one for a Destiny game, probably not worth picking up. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, but it's probably going to be a necessity to play this one, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, 0 for 2, but hopefully there'll be the sign of things turning around, but most of the big changes aren't planned, it seems, until the big content update in September, which is when the Taken King level of expansion will drop.
Season 4.
Yeah, Season 4.
Okay.
Season 4 and another 40 quid, probably.
I usually drop off a TV show around Season 3 if it's...
Yeah, I know.
If it
and this is
declining.
the difficult second season we're in at the moment, so...
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Anyway, do you like an Xbox?
I love an Xbox, me.
What if you like the Xbox One so much we're going to take an old Xbox One, put it inside a new Xbox One, put Xbox One in your Xbox One?
That sounds magical, and with the size of the original Xbox One, I believe you could probably fit in the original Xbox there.
Yeah, you could, you're right.
I don't know, we should... Actually, you've got both of them, haven't you, Tim? We can try put them side by side and make sure they're the right size.
Try and fit one in the other.
I'll have to gut out one of your Xbox.
So Tim comes home, you're just there with like bits of electronics all over the front room.
It's all right, I've got an idea.
Remember what we talked about at the podcast, mate? I had a great idea. It's going to make some great internet.
It didn't fit to start with.
The good news is Punisher now works on the Xbox One. The bad news, nothing else does. No more Sea of Thieves.
I'd take that, to be honest. I'd probably get more use out of it than I do now. But yeah, I keep on meaning to actually try out the backwards compatibility.
So you haven't done any?
No.
Oh, okay.
Didn't you? Didn't even on the 360?
Well, no. I mean, on the Xbox One, I haven't, since they introduced it, I haven't played an Xbox 360 game or an Xbox original game.
Well, apparently it's only really hitting its stride, I think, now the Xbox One X is out, and apparently...
but I don't have one of them, Dan.
No. But speaking to a friend of the show, Jamie,
yes,
who does have an Xbox One X, and he was playing Red Dead Redemption in 4K and says it looks absolutely drop-dead gorgeous.
Yeah, I was watching some of the comparison videos of that today. That does look very pretty. Because I booted up... I booted up Red Dead Redemption when that came to backwards compatibility, thinking, man, I could. There's still a lot in Red Dead Redemption I could do, especially in online. I'm going to jump straight back into that, and then I booted it up and saw just kind of how dismal it looked. I went, nah, I'm good, actually. I'm good. Because I played that whole game in standard def, so...
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those, you kind of learn after a bit not to go back to the games you fondly remember unless they've had, and there's a reason these things get remastered.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've got to think, I haven't gone back to Red Dead since I played it when it originally came out, but I'd imagine it probably doesn't look quite as awesome as I remember it looking.
Yeah, it is still very nice, but when you open it up, it's like, everything looks really kind of washed out, and I guess that is for the tone of the piece. It is quite a grim game in itself, but I remember it looking a lot more colourful than it looks. I don't know. Maybe it's just rose-tinted glasses. But what are we getting on the...
Which is actually a washed-out version of Red anyway, so...
Yeah, exactly. So
just before we move on, I believe Jamie actually wrote an article for the site as well about his Xbox One X experience, basically.
He certainly did.
Good. Good for him. All right, so what games are we getting on the from the original Xbox to the Xbox One, Dan?
Matrix Online.
Nice. I thought they closed that down.
I know.
And I didn't think that was released on the Xbox.
It was actually.
I thought that was Path of Neo and Enter the Matrix.
Oh, it might be, and you're right.
Matrix Online was an MMO for the PC.
Indeed it was. So we're getting
I watched the shutdown of that.
such hits as Blinks, the Time Sweeper.
Oh,
Very underrated game.
Breakdown, which is what I have every bloody VR segment.
Break it down.
Break it down. And there's actually some stuff I've heard of here. Conquer Live and Reloaded, for those of you who want to experience a throwback to edgy mid-90s edginess in the mid-2000s. You can now play that in the mid-2010s.
That's especially worth playing as because they put Conquer, the N64 game, on the Rare Replay collection, but it was the N64 version and not the Xbox One, the original Xbox version. So, play this one. It is very good. It is beautiful looking in comparison to the original, and the voice acting is great. And they make some subtle changes in there that are really welcome as well.
Well, talking of things that probably haven't aged as well, Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind.
Yeah, the Xbox version of that was not very good.
No, and that's going to look like hot arse.
Unless you're playing
Not
on
as
the
in
Xbox
a
One
hot
X, maybe.
piece of, but as in a hot, hairy, cellulitic,
Stop now.
wobbly,
No more description necessary,
turd
Dan. We got the
encrusted.
idea. It's okay.
Hunter the Reckoning.
I can't remember that.
I remember that. I remember
Jade
seeing that in
Empire.
preview.
I loved that game.
Panzer Dragoon Auto. I always had a fond spot in my heart for the Panzer Dragoon games.
Yes, unfortunately, they because they spun off and made that other Dragon game for the Xbox One on launch, I think.
Oh, God, yes, they did.
And it wasn't
that
very
did-
good.
No, wasn't.
I think that was one of those games they announced at one of the shows and then went, and it's out now. And we thought that was going to happen every year, and they don't really do that.
And also SSX 3. Hot on the zeitgeist of the Winter Olympics. They're releasing it 2 months after it finished.
I really do like... Well, I generally prefer kind of snowboarding games to skiing type stuffs, but like SSX was always one that I liked, but I don't think I ever actually owned a copy. I just played lots of other people's copies of it, basically.
That is a cool story.
I remember the advert for Tricky.
I'm generally less familiar with the series, and I don't remember where 3 necessarily came in how highly regarded that was, but I could play me some, skiing, snowboarding stuff. Yeah.
I always remember the SSX games being more fun with mates, because they quite often had like split screen on them, didn't
Yes, yes. That's why I used to like Cool Borders 2, I think was the snowboarding game of choice for me.
Yeah, that's one that, as we just discussed, not going back to, I really toyed with buying and then was like, no, I don't know if I want to spoil my memories of that game.
Yeah, fair enough.
Hey.
Fair enough. So all of those I just mentioned are coming April 17th, apparently. And those are all original Xbox games. But there's more coming on April the 26th. Coleman, give me a roll down, rolly thing on them. Roll down, whatever it is.
This one is a good old list.
Give me a mop top on those.
We have the excellent Destroy All Humans, which I'm wondering if that's aged at all well, but I'm surprised we haven't seen that come back. That was a THQ game, right?
Yeah, but I swear that's on... they've re-released it at least recently on...
it's on Nordic's list, so I'm wondering if they'll make a new game for that. That would be really cool.
Possibly.
Full Spectrum Warrior.
I loved that game at the time.
Yep, good.
I don't think it will have aged quite as well. But
Mercenaries Playground of Destruction. I remember playing that a lot to unlock the Han Solo unlockable skin, because that was a Lucas game. MX Unleashed.
Yeah, I can't... Again, I don't remember what MX game that is, but I think that's the one I really like.
Okay.
Because it's a bit crazy and got stunts and stuff. And, I like that one, I think.
Panzer Elite Action Fields of Glory.
That is a long-ass game. That is a long-ass title for a game, anyway.
And then we got a bunch of Star Wars games, a lot of which that have already come to the PlayStation 4 through the PSN, but these are, if you've already owned the discs, then you can play these games.
Yeah.
So you got Star Wars Battlefront and Battlefront 2.
Excellent. That's the non-microtransaction original Battlefronts.
The ones with more content.
Yes.
And better flight modes. The Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, which I remember playing a lot of that on PC. Yeah.
Did you get initiated into being a youngling on that?
No. I believe originally you're a rebel, and then you discover you are force sensitive partway through, and then you have to so you're a fully grown adult.
So the GP give you a test for that or something?
I'm pretty sure I played that when it came out on the original Xbox, but anyway.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that on PC, and it had a very funny multiplayer mode, because in the multiplayer mode you could play like Lando Calrissian and Han Solo and Luke Skywalker, but it had the worst voice acting. And I used to love playing as Luke Skywalker, because if you fell off like a platform or something to your death, you just hear him do the kind of this voice actor's interpretation of the no as he's getting his hand cut off, but he's just like no. It was very good. I'm sure that the multiplayer is not available anymore. Jedi Starfighter, wasn't that one of the kind of like Rebel Assault type things?
Yeah,
I
that was
believe
one
it
I
was,
never
yes.
played. Some people seem to hold.
It was a prequel one, right?
I'm not sure.
Yes, it was a prequel one. I think it was between episode 1 and 2, or maybe during episode 2, I think.
Okay. My letters have been answered, because we've got Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords.
I have
Unfortunately,
a
not
question.
the original, no. Yep.
Yeah.
Who did you write the letter to?
LucasArts. Oh, no, wait.
I don't.
Disney.
I thought, wasn't Knights of the Old Republic already on a previous list, though? No, I thought they'd already done that. For
maybe it is. I'll have to look at
Might
that.
have been.
I remember there's a very good version of it on iPad.
Yeah, I got it on Android, in fact, as well.
Yeah, the swipe controls on that are very good.
Yeah, that was actually well implemented.
Yeah. And lastly, Star Wars Republic Commando.
Huzzah!
That's where the members of the Republic wear no pants.
Yeah, well, that
Yes,
was.
indeed
I remember
they do.
that was at the
But
time.
they
That was
still
my
wear
flatmate's
trousers.
favourite Xbox 360 game. Oh, Xbox game, basically.
I got to admit, I don't remember that one too well.
He absolutely loved it. He really rated it very highly. He said it was it was like a first-person shooter when it was a squadron of like not stormtroopers, but whatever they were in the prequels, basically.
Clone troopers.
They're clone troopers,
yeah,
aren't they?
that was it. But he absolutely loved it and raved about it all the time, and still does to this day, kind of thing. So
Okay.
That's all your backwards compatibility stuff from the OG Xbox. So there we go. So that's all of your OG Xboxage. Let's slated to hit backwards compatibility in the coming weeks. But what other titles would you like to see hitting backwards compatibility? I wonder. What would you like to see, Tim? At the risk of making you spout off a list that's 4 million titles long.
I've got one answer that I care about, and you should be able to predict what it is. I reckon Coleman might predict ahead of you, but
Go on then, Dan. Have a guess. Bearing in mind there was no VR on the.
Right, and Rise wasn't released.
Punisher. That's it. That's the only one I care about. Original Xbox. Oh, I want to see that, please. That's the game that I literally still own a copy of the original Xbox One, and yeah, I like that, please. Thank you.
So why don't you just plug that into the original Xbox you got in your house?
Because then I got to plug that back in, and it would have been a slight waste of electricity to have kept it on for this number of years without using it up to this point.
I'll give this. The Punisher was a great game with some very brutal kill animations, because it was like one of the first examples of environmental takedowns that I'd seen, where you, like, at one point I think you're fighting bad guys in a museum and there's like an Aztec sacrificial altar, and if you grab one of the bad guys and throw him against that, he'll put him on the sacrificing slab and then stab him in the heart. That kind of stuff.
Drill people through their eye sockets and
but at the same time has one of the worst end of game bosses I've ever seen. Which is Jigsaw in an Iron Man suit.
Well, I must say that the original Xbox came out at a time when I really didn't have any disposable cash for games, since I was well in the middle of being a student at that point.
Yeah.
So I kind of... And I had a PS2 at that point, so I didn't really go for the OG Xbox. So what I've done, I've loaded up a list of original Xbox games, and I'm going to just choose one at random.
Fusion Frenzy. Go for
What?
Fusion Frenzy. Bill Gates said it was his favourite Xbox game.
No, the one I'm going for, this is a good one. I'm going for Codename Kids Next Door Operation VIDEOGAME.
Isn't that a Cartoon Network game?
I don't even care.
I don't reckon we're going to get a single fan that agrees with you there, Dan.
Okay.
Yeah. What kind of what Metascore? Metacritic? Oh, it got a 4 out of 10. I've picked well.
You picked well, Dan.
I have picked a great game.
Picked a winner.
Yes. So there we go. So that's what we would like to see, and obviously if there's any you'd like to see, our opinions and thoughts have absolutely no bearing or influence over Microsoft, but it'd be fun to talk about it anyway.
I didn't get to give mine.
Oh, Coleman, sorry buddy, what would yours be?
Well, outside of Club Football 2005, Tottenham Hotspur, because I'm the biggest Tottenham Hotspur fan of the Big Red Barrel UK podcast, as everyone knows.
I think you're confusing yourself with someone else there, Coleman.
I would have to go. I reckon WWE WrestleMania 21, even though it wasn't a good wrestling game.
God's sakes.
This was the first example I'd seen of you being able to use your own custom theme tunes for entrances on your created characters, which I really, really dug. And yeah, I got into Xbox late in the cycle. I always used other people's Xboxes that I lived with. And aside from Fable, WrestleMania 21 was probably the one I played the most as well. I think it had a really good story mode, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that's my one.
Manchester United Manager 2005 is also an option, Tim.
Good.
I know you like the footballs.
Because Codemasters did the club football license.
And I played way too much Football Manager on that console. Anyway.
And what they did was they'd make different versions for each football team to put out. And I assume it was just like a menu change and a cover change. But otherwise, like they're like Club Football 2005. Yeah. Here's the Arsenal edition, the Aston Villa edition, the Bayern Munich edition, the Celtic edition. And it just carries on like that.
It just keeps printing money. How do we stop it? But mind you, that's kind of football all over, really. If you slap the team name on something, even if it is just a cosmetic change, people will still buy it.
Yeah.
It was a good idea. I bought the Tottenham one.
It was a good idea, and also a bit of a depressing commentary on how gullible the British public are. If you just change the name of something to something else, people will still buy it, even though it's an identical product.
There wasn't any Club Football 2005 Portsmouth, which once again shows how little people care about my hometown.
It wasn't like that. They didn't launch them all as separate products. They launched them all at the same time as different kind of SKUs. And like you would, as a football fan, you wouldn't go and collect the set necessarily. No. It's not the type of thing you do. You just buy the one that was associated to your club or a club that you liked.
I mean, that was me making a glib point, but Tim's actually trying to make a serious point that I really couldn't give a monkeys about.
Cool.
Moving on.
There was also Tron 2.0. Oh, no, right. My mission for the rest of this show, which I'm going to engage in when Tim's talking about VR, is trying to find the worst rated original Xbox game I can and demand Microsoft that they get it. Bring it to backwards compatibility, and I'm going to demand that everyone else who listens to this show does the same. Anyway, points of interest. Forgotten Anne. She's no longer forgotten. She's got a release date.
Yes, we've remembered about her, and
we have.
If listeners of the show remember as well, we not only spoke to them at EGX last year, but we've had them on the show before as well. It's a game we're definitely very interested in. Basically, I
mean, it's a beautiful looking game.
Yeah, really fantastic looking.
So it's kind of very much a cinematic adventure game. Is my recommendation of it, and it's kind of got a lovely kind of Studio Ghibli
very
kind of aesthetic to it.
And that's out on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC via Steam on the 15th of May.
Yep.
Yeah, I may well be checking that out.
Something you should check out if you have a PC powerful enough to play it. There's a free-to-play monster hunting RPG called Dauntless, and it looks absolutely cracking. And there's going to be an open beta on the 24th of May.
PlayDauntless.com. So yes. I'm going to go and do that.
I believe it's free to play, but it's you have to pay to enter. So I think it's £40, £30 or £40 to purchase it. So you'll probably want to go try the open beta before that comes out.
Hunting.
Everyone loves monster hunting.
Hunter of monsters, gonna hunt a monster.
As there's no Monster Hunter on PC until much later in the year, probably worth giving this one a bang.
So it's not. It's kind of like the Pro Evolution Soccer of monster hunting, where I'm going to be a monster hunter, not a monster hunter, because that's the only way you can get around copyright problems.
Correct.
With my Munter Hunter, Davu Bokham is what I'm going to call him.
Good. Excellent. And lastly, do you remember DayZ? That was the game that the open world
he was
PC
that rapper,
game,
wasn't he? And he was recently on that David Letterman show on Netflix.
DayZ was the open world survival zombie game that everyone used to play before PUBG came out.
I always get those two confused.
Yeah. That's sort of getting a reboot this month, which next month they're getting a new engine that the game's going to launch on, and I believe that's going to contribute to it coming to Xbox as well, because if you remember a while ago, they announced it for Xbox, and we've seen nothing on that for about 3 years. So, yeah. So it might be worth jumping back into DayZ at some point. I believe I bought a copy of that game and played it for 30 minutes.
Yeah, I mean,
Ran very poorly.
I think I've got a copy of it on PC. I think, but they're upgrading the engine, aren't they? So it's having a bit of a reboot.
Yes.
But it was such an impenetrable game, I seem to remember. It was based on the Arma 3 engine, wasn't it? Which
yes, it was an Arma mod originally, and then they built it into its own game, much like PUBG, in fact. And it got built as its own thing, and then released, and it took on a whole new life of its own. It did very well. But it's one of the only games that the people that I know that play those games play with like spreadsheets and Reddit pages open as they're playing. So
yeah, it's the only way to play.
It's the only true way to play DayZ.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of. I think that's the thing where I kind of admire the kind of slavish attention to realism, but at the same time, the reason why games tend to be fun is that you don't have to worry about all that crap. You know?
Also, there's a never-ending source of entertainment of DayZ videos on YouTube. I remember seeing things like if you were a guy who'd been playing for a while and managed to get all the weapons and stuff before the new guy comes in, has nothing. Because dying is a horrible process in that game. If you get like your leg cut, then you're bleeding out over time, and it can get infected, and zombies are chasing you, and bad guys, other players are trying to kill you, and all this kind of stuff. There would be people begging for their lives in game, basically, and you could make them do pretty much whatever you wanted. You're like, right, now sit down, now sing to me, now dance around, or I'll kill you. And there's a lot of videos like that online.
Oh, I remember seeing one where they found there was some guys who'd been playing for ages, found some 2 newbies and basically made them fight to the death.
Yes, I've seen cults that have opened up in DayZ. That was an interesting one. Yeah,
and that's why we can't have nice things.
No, I think that's why we have open world games to create our own entertainment with. So yeah, if you've got some recommended videos, stick them on the forum or something, and then we'll have a look because they're really funny. Good.
Yeah, preferably funny ones rather than nasty ones, though, please.
The nasty ones are funny too.
Yeah, everything's funny. Everything's funny when end of the world apocalypses are involved. Everyone knows that, Tim.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's I think all the news, isn't it?
Yes,
it is all the news.
'Tis.
And do you know what we talk about after we've talked about the news?
We talk about what we done played after we talk about the news that we've finished talking about just now. So now we finished talking about the news, we should talk about what we done played.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Is what we should do. So, yeah, well, I mean, because Tim's got, well, more than one game to talk about, it's the rest of the podcast done. I'm just going to quickly talk about me and my voyage of discovery on the Switch. It continues. I'm having a lovely time. And man, there is a lot of awesome games on that system.
Yes.
I think your problem at the moment is because there's so many games out that you're playing a lot of games at the same time. Whereas you got to really sink your teeth into one game at a time. I think.
So, I mean, I've started dabbling around in following Coleman's reminding me that Mario games tend to be okay last week. But I've just quickly dabbled in that, and that is a beautiful game.
Yay!
It
just oozes charm.
Yeah, you just go, oh, Mario, you're awesome, you're the best.
Have you been a T-Rex yet?
I have been a T-Rex.
Yeah.
And my favourite bit is his little moustache.
Yep.
Stamping around, smashing stuff.
Yeah, it's good fun. But I've been trying to polish off Legend of Zelda. I was going to say I've been trying to polish off Zelda, but I'm sure there's a euphemism in that somewhere. An interesting game insofar as it's so very different. Like I said last week, it's so very different to what I was expecting a Zelda game to be. And I still don't quite know what I think about it, but I think I'm having fun. Although the weapon wearing out thing is just a bit... The longevity of weapons, especially if you're going up against a boss, is just short enough to be annoying, frankly.
That gets better as you get further. You'll find much stronger weapons.
So I've just had my second boss fight inside the camel.
Ooh.
Yeah, everything just started breaking. I was like, God damn it!
it is a very interesting one. I kind of like it's kind of like that Skyrim aspect when Skyrim was about to come out, and they were like, "Hey, you see that mountain in the background? You can visit that mountain if you just
Except
climb."
they said that 10 years later.
Yeah. Well, and then they when they were hyping up Zelda, and they were going, "Hey, see that mountain in the background? You could be at that mountain if you make your way to it." And it's like, okay, yeah, we've seen that before, but it's the journey that you're taking to that mountain it makes it such a really fun game to play. And it can be a game where not a lot happens for a long time, but when something does happen, like, you're super engaged in it.
Yeah, no, it's just kind of the level of care and attention that has just been given to everything. It's certainly in the first party games is, really kind of a breath of fresh air in a kind of a gaming industry that seems obsessed with getting stuff out the door as quickly as it can and then worrying about fixing it after the fact. It's a breath of fresh air.
Well, I've weirdly been playing LA Noire as well, and it just feels weird to play that on a Nintendo handheld, is the only comment I'll make.
Yeah, well, I've also started checking out some of the indie games as well. I don't think the price point is quite right yet for the indie games, unless stuff's on sale. So I picked up Enter the Gungeon, which is basically a kind of a roguelike, kind of Smash TV version of a roguelike, for want of a better way of putting it. And yeah, that's fun. I mean, it looks great on the telly, although there's some weird pixel scaling issues if you play it on the screen on the Switch itself. And but that's a good fun game, good pick up and play, and a great fit for the platform. So yeah, I remain very happy with the Switch.
Yeah, it's good. I just picked up Subsurface Circular because I noticed that was on sale as well. I haven't played that yet, but that looks good. Just mention while it's on sale.
Oh, and I've also picked up the what was it called? Octopus, something or other.
Octodad?
No,
no. Is that the new one that came out this week?
There's a demo of it, and I saw you playing it.
Oh, yeah, I didn't like that.
No, because that's by the Bravely Default.
Yeah, the RPG, right? The 2D square style RPG. Yeah, now I know that's going to hit a lot of fans' buttons, but I played it and I got so bored. It's like, it's just, I haven't got the patience for long-standing, like old school 2D Final Fantasy style games. I just don't have
you're talking Octopath Traveler?
That's the one.
Right.
Octodad Traveler.
I played a bit of that, and I was actually reasonably enjoying it until I got to a point where I was messing around with the combat and died, and then I had to re-go, and they did the whole unskippable cutscene, and I had to go through every bit of text by hitting A, and I was just like, okay, see you later, bye. Nope.
I think that's fair. But I'm still playing Skyrim.
I thought it was a shame because it looked nice, and I quite liked the combat, but yeah, unskippable cutscenes, no.
I'm still playing the holy hell out of Skyrim, and I'm a vampire now, and I don't know how to stop that, because I never had that before. So, answers on a postcard, please.
Good.
That's Switch.
Yeah, it is. So anyway, I'm all out of stuff to talk about because, Tim's talking about stuff, so I'm just going to slip into a coma and find the worst rated original Xbox game like I promised.
Well, look, I have let you off the hook. There's plenty of VR games I could have been talking about in the past few weeks that I've been enjoying. I haven't mentioned Blasters of the Universe.
That's a bit like saying you're really lucky that I didn't bludgeon you to death with a cricket bat. Because there's been loads of cricket bats made in the world.
Saying we had other things to talk about getting a week off. This week you're stuck because I got a few review codes. So there's a few things I need to talk about, basically.
Okay.
But yeah, one that I was really looking forward to. And I'd heard mixed things about the being on previous on other formats. Rather, this had already been out on Steam, but Operation Warcade came out this week on PSVR. And yeah, I was looking forward to it. I was initially a little bit underwhelmed with what was there, and I can fully understand why Coleman and other people are somewhat criticising the game necessarily. But I literally could not help having fun with it. It's a bit rough around the edges. It could do with another level of polish. But yeah, it's basically a love letter to Operation Wolf. And it literally, it's a difficult one, because if you love that game and hold it in reverence, then this is... it's a weirdly not quite precise love letter to it. Almost, I think it talks of itself as a spiritual successor to Operation Wolf, and the kind of setup is you're like in the kind of game menu almost type thing. You're in an 80s arcade, and there's like in the surrounding areas to where you are, there's like other arcades that look like the arcade games from back in the day, basically. And then you've got Operation Wolf. Now, it does work with the aim controller, which was one thing I was interested in, and I played most of the game with that. But then I'm glad I went back to the move controllers, because with the move controllers you get like an actual Uzi like you did in the original game. It's a bit more free roaming. It does not actually connected to the like arcade cabinet in front of you, and you can move around and shoot things. But there's two kind of versions of the game, and you can only play one of the versions with the aim controller, whereas you can play both with the DualShock or the move controllers, basically. The kind of secondary mode that's a bit of a kind of add-on is another arcade cabinet that's set up to the one that you normally play on, and that allows you to play a slightly more accurate recreation in terms of it's just a scrolling screen in front of you and you're shooting it and standing at the arcade game, basically. Whereas the arcade cabinet that most of the game takes place in on the left, you kind of go into the game and you can lean kind of forward and look left or right to see further ahead of you or behind you, basically. And then it's kind of the one thing that I find a bit of a disconnect, and I don't know if this is part of your problem, Coleman, is that graphically it doesn't look the same in terms of the enemies, and some of what's going on and the kind of enemy patterns are very similar and evoke that type of thing, but the actual graphical style doesn't look to emulate that at all, kind of thing. And there's a weird, I felt at first it was a weird disconnect with you being a much larger figure than the things that you're shooting, and you feel like you're kind of overshadowing those type things. No,
I just felt it's clearly, even though they don't say it as much, because I don't know who retains the license for Operation Wolf since Tato.
I'm not sure what the situation is with that.
Yeah, like they don't stand out and go, this is a special version of Operation Wolf, but as for it being a love letter, I think they just completely missed the point as to what the original game was.
Is it less a love letter, more dumping them by text?
Yeah, kind of like. No, it's a motion light gun style game rather than and I know that it was down to limited technology back in the day of having the sprite and the little Uzi controller, but I don't know. I think it just feels too big and bombastic for what it should be, you know?
Really?
I have a lot of fond memories of Operation Wolf, so...
Okay,
mate, I played Operation... I played it, not only played it in the arcade, but had the Amstrad CPC 464 version.
Oh, well, nice.
I had the Amiga 500
I think
version.
I just played it in the arcades, but I absolutely love the game and hold it in reverence from the past. So, as I said, this was one I was looking forward to, but it had a bit to live up to in terms of that. But as I said, I can understand why a fan of this game would or wouldn't take to this game, basically. And I just happened to like get to the point where I was like, okay, there are differences here that are jarring, but not that are preventing me from having fun. And I'm having fun with this game. Like, as I said, it's a bit rough around the edges. It really could do with another level of polish. I think it's in the £16 price category, so it's not too bad in terms of that thing, because you do get a fair bit of functionality, especially if you have the aim controller, because you do get more use out of it then. But yeah, like, it's one where they go through different stages of different things, and you can unlock different stages by hitting different achievements in each level, basically. So it kind of they do kind of try and add a few things that don't work as well. There's parts where you shoot an arrow that's in the level, and it will suck you into the level, and you'll actually be in first person at the same kind of ratioed height as your enemies, and shooting them with like a rocket launcher or a shotgun or a sniper rifle. And the sniper rifle's a bit dodgy.
Too hard.
Yeah, like some of the stuff that it adds, like there's a bit later on where it adds a plane, and you're actually in the plane and it's got flight controls, but if you thought I was terrible at flying in Ace Combat.
Did you put it on novice mode again, Tim?
You should see, mate. I tried it in both their control methods because I couldn't control it in either. And I crashed a lot in that. But like a lot of the things they try are just like, okay, that would be a really cool idea to add in. And it's one thing where I'd kind of like to see this either updated or get like significant improvements in patches or even a sequel, because I'd really like to see this idea taken to its full fruition. But for what it is, and the price point is a tiny bit high, maybe get it when it's on sale or something. But
how much is
Operation Wolf, like it's worth taking a look at and seeing if the graphical style doesn't put you off, then I think you'll be like interested in playing just from a point of interest sake kind of thing.
You know how like there's porn about everything on the internet?
Oh God.
Is there an Operation MILF? That's what I want to know.
Almost undoubtedly. Let's not
What
Google
kind of
that.
a light gun game would that be?
No.
Answers on the back of a postcard to @TheRealDonaldTrump on Twitter.
Speaking of apes.
Hi.
Aye.
Not Gibbons.
Speaking of oranges,
The one of the other recodes I got this week was a game called Crisis on the Planet of the Apes. And to be honest, like when it's a movie tie-in, it's been like mainly miss on PSVR so far. So I'm pleased to report this one was actually better than I expected. And I had my expectations raised just before I actually played it, just because I heard through the grapevine that it was, Twitter and other stuff, that people were quite liking it. And so I had my expectations raised, and I still came away enjoying it, basically. It's not the longest game, and I had to check on the price, but it's got some really nice ideas and some slightly silly ideas, basically.
Okay.
okay.
Major thing that takes a bit of getting used to, but has a saving grace, is the movement system, the locomotion system that they've put in place. And basically,
do you get to swing your hips now?
Pretty much. Right.
I never thought I'd get to reuse all of this on the podcast for a second time.
What you do for movement is you're basically having it's another game with 2 move controllers, and this one actually does. And just a tick in its box, it actually tells you this is a standing experience, so please stand, play with 2 move controllers, blah, blah. Anyway, yeah, so just not all games make that clear, and this one did.
I've got a question.
Good. Yeah?
If you had a little baby sister, could she do it with you?
Yes.
Is it easier than learning your ABC?
Possibly.
So could you do the locomotion with me, Tim?
Maybe.
Right, okay.
That's a video waiting to happen.
But yeah, no, basically you're pressing the move controller and kind of selecting like an outline of an ape in front of you. And it's a kind of first-person view, obviously. Well, not necessarily, obviously, but and you've got kind of big monkey hands that you can see, but you don't really see the rest of your arms, basically. But that's kind of common in a lot of VR experiences. But yeah, like what you're doing is holding down the move controller to highlight the outline of the monkey in front of you, but then you've got to move your arms up and down to like actually move forwards to that point. There are points where you're in combat later on where you can kind of zip to cover by doing a kind of sort of faster motion of that. And like that, it's a bit dodgy. It works. So, like, there's times where you're being chased later on, and you're having to do that as a kind of sort of tight time period. Basically, the basic story is that you're a kind of imprisoned monkey, and you're going into a kind of camp where they're experimenting on monkeys to try and find a cure. And you're breaking out of this camp and trying to escape. Basically, that's the basic premise. And yeah, like that locomotion thing aside, like the one, as I said, it has one saving grace because it can be a bit of a pain in the arse and it can be a bit weird at times, but it generally works okay. And the one thing it did get me doing, at least in kind of the moments when I'm like strolling around the base at the beginning and stuff, it does get you swinging your arms and feeling
so
a bit
close.
monkey-like. So that kind of works at least. But the one thing
do you think I'd get to like it if I gave it a chance now.
Yes.
Okay.
Good. Are we going to go through all the lyrics now?
Locomotion 2, Electric Boogaloo.
But yeah, the one thing that I think it really gets right, and if you excuse the pun, other things need to ape in the future.
Oh, really, Tim? Get out.
I did it.
Get out.
Is the cover system. The cover system's like really intelligent. It's a bit weird at first, and
so to
at
go
times...
into cover, do you jump up or do you jump back?
No. Right, but
No,
so you got the knack, is what you're saying.
Say you're behind something, you can hold a weapon in either hand. You've later on in the game, you've got like a shotgun on the left and a like assault rifle on the right, and you can kind of holster them both just by putting them on your back, basically. But you can then reach up, get a gun, but you've got one gun in one hand, and when you're in cover, you can grab various points of the cover with your other hand, with your free hands, but then use that to maneuver yourself around. And it actually leads to some really interesting kind of gunplay and like good moments where you can actually properly lean round cover and keep your head safe while shooting someone. Or there was a good point where I was in the middle of a bookcase and I actually shot round the stuff that was on the bookcase to shoot the people.
Yeah, because books are renowned for being bulletproof.
Well, it was a kind of shelf stack with things on it, basically. But yeah,
watermelons.
No, there was
tin spam,
crates
Tins
of
spam.
stuff and other things. But
right, okay.
But general bric-a-brac. As in, I could shoot in between the objects on that shelf, and not every game allows you to do stuff like that. And I just thought it was, a really interestingly implemented system that actually worked quite well. Like the gunplay isn't always like completely on it, but graphically it's actually not bad. And this is one of those things where they are charging for this. It's not like a free thing like some of the other stuff has been, but we've been charged for some movie stuff before that was terrible, and some of the free stuff has been terrible. And this, I'm happy to report, is on the good side of things. Like, as well as the gunplay being quite good, there's a lot of climbing. It's a tiny bit, like, there is one problem, like, with the general kind of thing where the cover and the other thing, if you move your head into an object, it will tell you need to move your head out of the object, basically. And that can become an issue in both areas, but generally the gunplay was good, as I said, and the climbing is quite good as well. You're like climbing across pipes to escape the building and climbing up walls and stuff, and yeah, it that all works better than I've seen it in more expensive games like Robinson the Journey, for instance, and stuff like that.
Is it just shooty bit? Oh, look, there's a climby bit, shooty bit. Oh, look, another climby bit, shooty bit.
Right. Especially when they're teaching you the mechanics at the beginning, it's very much like, here's how you do this, here's how you do that, and it's in like abstract form type thing. So that's very much the case. But then it kind of gets you into the actual story of the bit, and it's not the longest game. It's only a couple of hours long type thing. But I generally enjoyed the bit of the story they're telling. You kind of interact with a couple of other apes that you're escaping with.
Ape Escape, lovely, love that
Ape
game.
Escape, yep, that was a great game. And yeah, like it's as I said, it's interesting story, and it's not perfect, but there's some really interesting mechanics that lead to some really fun gameplay in it, basically. So yeah, I'm pleased to say this is on the better side of things, and I'd much rather that, for a film or universe of this type, that they were making a good quality game and charging a reasonable price for it, rather than like giving away a free thing that's not worth anyone's time, kind of thing. No. So
you've been playing up PSVR, presumably?
Yes. Yeah.
Because I think it's also out on PC as well, isn't it?
Yes. Believe both other formats, I believe.
Yeah, and I mean, it might be that the PSVR version's more polished. I've heard it's pretty ropey on the PC.
As I said, again, it could have done with a slight more polish, but in places it looks like graphically like more impressive than I thought it would for the kind of quality of game, or the price point of game and the kind of type of game that it is. And yeah, as I said, the main thing is the gameplay's fun, but yeah, as I said, it's it's not perfect, and like you may have bigger issues than I did with the actual movement mechanics. But generally, once you get used to that, and once you're playing the more fun bits nearer the end of the game type thing, I really think it's quite good.
Fair dues.
Good.
Yeah.
Jolly good. But that's not all the VR you get this week, ladies and gentlemen. Oh no! You're probably as excited as me and Coleman are to hear about Time Carnage VR.
The other one I'll give a bit more short lip service to. I might speak about in the future, but DMed is doing a write-up for the site, but I also got a review code for Time Carnage VR, which, again, is...
Anything to do with Time Crisis?
No, it is a wave shooter, kind of sat still, but it's a reasonably priced wave shooter. I think this one was like, I think it's on sale at the moment, so it's about £12-13 basically. And for that price, especially compared to Arc Park, which admittedly I didn't buy, but that's because I didn't buy because I heard such bad things about it at launch. It may get patched anyway. But this one, you are shooting dinosaurs in this, which is why I mentioned Arc Park particularly, but you're also skipping through different time periods. I've only done the first couple. I have to defer to DMed to see exactly what he thinks of the game, but my early impression is that it's quite good fun. It again could do with a little bit more polish on some of the things, like some of the enemy types particularly, and some of the guns, like the fire's a bit ropey. I don't know if that's something to do with VR, but the actual bullet spray type things don't look that impressive. But other than that, the actual gunplay and the actual moment-to-moment gameplay, I've quite enjoyed in that so far. You're in a little time bubble, jumping between time zones and then facing off against like waves of 10 waves of enemies at a time, basically.
What's your favourite time zone? If you had to play a game in a time zone, Tim, what time zone would you play the game in?
Well, the first one was in the future. In that one, in Time Carnage, the first one was in the future, and you're fighting against zombies, and they were a bit bland. But then you're fighting dinosaurs, and that was cool. And yeah, like, if you're going to fight anything in time, let's go fight dinosaurs. No,
what would you fight, Coleman, if you could fight anything at any period of time?
What, the time zone or the thing?
Well, no, I wasn't thinking like Eastern Daylight Time. I wasn't thinking like that.
I would go back to my childhood and fight Dave Benson Phillips before he can scare me. Because I used to be scared of Dave Benson Phillips when I was a child.
Why?
I don't know why.
Why? Why?
I think it was his voice.
Right.
He's a very intimidating man.
Right. I would teleport back to 1936.
Right.
And stop them building a radioactive reactor, a nuclear reactor, on the site of where I'm living at the moment. Because we had a plant in the kitchen that grew freakishly large, and I think it might be because the whole area is irradiated.
Just very quickly, I'm going to mention I bought the 8BitDo SF30 Bluetooth gamepad thing.
I have one of those that I use with my Raspberry Pi, and it's rather splendid.
I bought the 8BitDo run.
But yeah, I bought it as a second pad for my Switch, but I have to say, after a bit of faff with setting it up, I quite like it.
Yeah. It's all right. It's quite diddy, I seem to remember.
Well, it seems to be roughly, or as much as they could get it, the same size as an original SNES pad, no?
Yeah, you're right, actually.
Which I think was their aim. The buttons are a little bit closer together than the old SNES pad because they've got to accommodate the analog sticks, but hey.
We can compare it to one of my SNES pads and see if it's the same size.
I think it is.
Okay.
Or roughly. It's got those split triggers on the back, which would be weird.
I want to know its relative size comparable to other pads.
It works nicely on Street Fighter, I'll tell you that much.
But I always found that Street Fighter on the SNES gave me a massive blister on my thumb.
Really?
Yep.
Tim did that on the PlayStation. Just don't know how to use controllers.
What did he get? Okay, follow-up question to that, Coleman.
Yep.
Anatomically speaking, where was that blister?
The hell kind of question is that, you sicko?
They had a party in my old flat, and Street Fighter 5 had just come out, so I thought, oh, this would be good. Let's put Street Fighter 5 on and just leave some controllers out. And it just turned out Tim was the only one who wanted to play it, and then by the end of the night, he just like ripped his thumb open. It's horrible. Now he's got a bionic thumb.
No, that generally happens when I play with PS4 pads. That's why I bought a fight pad thing in the last generation. But hey.
Blended.
Hey.
So.
Hey.
I think that's all we done played, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yep. We need to tell you that Tuesday's Tuesday. Tim, Tuesday is Tuesday. Tell us about the Tuesday.
Well, for anyone that doesn't know, each and every Tuesday we do an event called Tabletop Tuesday at the Loading Bar in Dalston.
What?
We do an event.
Never heard of it.
What?
You should come one week,
I
maybe.
should, but it's
all
miles
the way
away
from
now.
Slough. Innit? Just trek.
No,
Hitchhike.
are there any roundabouts that
advice.
I'd like?
No.
Oh.
But yeah, for anyone that doesn't know, we do an event each and every week, and if you come along and play our feature game on the evening, you can win a copy of the game at the end of the night. Last week was a little game called Tetris Duel, and yeah, that seemed to go down quite well. Obviously, it was a reasonably good fit for the bar. It was a bit of a faff learning the rules at first, but once we get around them, yeah, it seemed to go down reasonably well. A couple of people didn't like it, majority of people did. But yeah, this week is the very first ever Spiel des Jahres winner from 1979. Going back
God.
some.
Wowza.
So it's a bit of an old school one, but a game called Hare and Tortoise. I thought this would be of interest just to kind of gamers, because the Spiel des Jahres, in case you guys don't know, is the big prestigious board game
how could we forget?
Awards of the year, and it's kind of the world famous one, and it's become quite a big thing, but this was the first ever winner of that as well. So I thought
this is in Germany, right?
That point of interest alone, it was worth playing. But yeah, it should be a good fun one just to come along and play on the evening, and if you do play, you can win a copy at the end of the night.
Who won last year's Spiel des Jahres?
Oh, well, the awards have got slightly more complicated than they used to be, but I think the overall winner was possibly Century Spice Road.
Century Spice Road.
Maybe?
Yes.
If I remember.
I believe that is correct.
Not sure. Anyway. Off the top of my head. But if you're looking for more details, you can check it out on BigRedBarel.com on the top left-hand corner of the site. There is also more details on our meetup page, and search for Tabletop Tuesday on meetup.com.
Bacon.
Yep, come along and join us. It's always a good evening, and yeah, should be a good one this week.
Splendid.
I'm just voting up a gammon joint on meetup.com.
What?
Delicious gammon.
It's the wrong meetup. You've spelled it wrong again, Coleman.
No, you spelt it right.
E's.
You're the one doing it wrong, Timothy Hibbs.
2 E's.
Because there's only one way to take meat, Tim. And that only way is
it's
up.
Dead.
Baby. What have you sent me, Dan? What is it?
That is a punk turtle.
Aww.
Isn't he awesome?
Why did you send me a punk turtle?
Tim was talking about tortoises, and I got a bit bored.
Tim was talking about the tortoise, the hare and tortoise, and this is a tortoise with hair.
Yeah.
Amazing.
There you go. All ties
Episode
in.
Artwork sorted. You're welcome.
Nice.
You are welcome.
Punk tortoise.
Yes, indeed. Tortoise. So, yes. So I think that's probably just about it, since we had to disappear, and Tim and Coleman are off to the mean streets of Rest. So they need their beauty sleep. So if you're listening to this when you see them,
that'd be weird.
It would be very strange.
Mate, why are you listening to podcasts at an event? That's weird.
People do.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Socialise. Talk to people. There's loads of people there.
Exactly.
Say hello to us, maybe. Hey.
Say hello to us.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Or if you are listening to us while you're at Rest and you see us, then stand afar, and if we're talking, see if our lips sync up with what's being said in the podcast.
Yeah, you'll be able to find Tim, because there'll be a trail of people who've slipped into a coma as he tells them about menu options in games.
Or see if the podcast syncs up with Pink Floyd's Darker the Moon. Why not?
Also, generally always open to meeting people and absolutely love to do so, but the one time not to, possibly just if we're in the middle of an interview. If you can avoid that, that'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah, thank you.
Get crushed interview.
Why are we whispering?
Thank you.
Coleman. You go crush one of Tim's interviews, so I don't expect it if it's you.
If you see Tim interviewing, I don't know why I'm so close to the microphone now. If you see Tim interviewing anyone, just walk up and lick him on the neck. He loves that.
He loves it.
Don't say anything. Don't acknowledge him. Just do it and walk away.
Lick him on the neck, then just gaze into his eyes and walk backwards.
Oh, come up and punch me and go, well, at least I didn't lick your neck. Fuck's sake.
Come on, lick your neck.
Yeah.
Who is this person?
And indie game developers, if you're being interviewed by Tim and you listen to this podcast, randomly lick him on the neck during interview.
No. In that one, you give him a kiss. A little, tasty yum yum.
Shout outs. Taste that peanut butter.
Shout outs.
Shout outs. Flippy Pixel and Stingo from the forums.
Yay. Flippy Pixel said lots of nice things.
Thank you, Flippy Pixel.
He said lots of nice things about everything sarcastic gamer to BRB, I guess.
Oh, well.
Yeah, no. All podcasts.
So that means he's tolerated us for nearly a decade.
Yes.
Christ, because we have been podcasting for nearly a decade.
Mate, do you want to know how old I feel?
Mate.
Like, when someone said the other day that... I can't remember where the comment was. I think it was on Twitter, possibly. But someone said the other day that they've been listening to us since they were in school or university or something. I think it was in school. And, they wanted to become a game developer and went on to become a game developer. And I'm just like, oh my word. You've been listening to us in school. Now you're a game developer. Let's come like full circle. Like, oh no. Oh. You've achieved much in the time we've been sitting here talking nonsense.
Yep.
But hey.
And we've achieved so very little.
I met a guy at PC Gamer Show a while ago. I'm trying to remember what the game he was working on, but basically it's this guy who's working on his own, making an officially licensed Portal spin-off game. I can't remember the name of it, though, for the life of me. But when I mentioned BigRedBarel, and he's I hadn't heard of BigRedBarel before, and I said Sarcastic Gamer, he goes, I used to listen to Sarcastic Gamer when I was in school. You're so young.
We're so old. So very, very old. Anyway, who else are you going to say thank you to?
I'd like to thank Rob Evans, and I'd like to thank Nelly.
Do you know who I'd like to thank?
What?
I'd like to thank Atari for bringing out Nickelodeon Party Blast on the original Xbox.
Hooray! Which you can now buy for £3 on Amazon.
Because I know you're listening, Phil Spencer. I know you're listening. I would like to see that appear on backwards compatibility.
What rating did that get on Metacritic, Dan?
19.
19? Oh, that
19.
takes some doing. Ooh.
That is the worst original. But it looks... Well, frankly, if I was having an existential crisis whilst off my tits on LSD, that's what the front cover of this game looks like. It's pretty amazing. It was made by Infogrames. Remember them?
If we could get also Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee, because I actually did enjoy that game.
You have to choose a game you like.
All right, there's Godzilla Save the Earth by Atari. There you go. While we're at Atari games.
Atari, 2 for 2. Well done, Atari.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard as well. One thing I found interesting, that there's a Hello Kitty racing game that's coming out on the Switch. And the only reason that's interesting is because that was apparently the most valuable game on the Wii, because it had such a limited run. It became so valuable because there was so few of them.
Wasn't that the one
most valuable game ever?
I thought that was the one that had some kind of backdoor exploit that allowed you to pirate other games. That's why it was.
Maybe that's why it became. Yeah, maybe that's the case.
It's a bit like 3DS games that become mysteriously expensive on eBay.
Yes. Anyway,
wow! I found a worse game, not on the original Xbox.
Hello Kitty Roller Coaster Rescue.
Big Rigs Over the Road Racing, which got a mighty...
I love Big Rigs! That's on a PC, right?
They got a score of 8 out of 100.
Yes, Whoa. That was the game that they didn't put any physics in for driving into obstacles, so you'd pass through buildings and stuff, and bridges that were on the track. You would phase through the bridge and then drive through the water underneath and then come out the other side absolutely fine. And also, they put no speed control on reversing. So if you reversed, you would just keep climbing, and then you go off the map and you keep on going forever.
And when you won, you got a picture of a redneck with the words, "Your winner."
Yes, and you would, it would keep going for like 999 miles an hour.
Yeah, as in you apostrophe RE, not this is your winner, this is the you are winner, which is along basically in the same ballpark of all your base belong to us, really.
Yeah, or congratulations, you have played a great game.
Yes, you have.
That was Ghostbusters on the Nintendo, if you didn't know.
Beautiful.
You are a winner. Thank you, Dan.
You are winner. Anyway, with that nonsense, it's time for us to go. So we're going to...
Huzzah.
Huzzah!
Huzzah! So say hello to Tim Coleman if you see them at Resd. And I'm sadly, like I said, I'm sadly not there. But if you see a roundabout, look at it wistfully and think of Slough for me. Yes. So
For a minute
that's it
there,
for
I
another
thought
week.
you said if you see Tim Coleman at Res. Anyway, but yeah.
What?
I thought you were telling Coleman to say hello to me at Res, which seems a bit
Coleman,
pointless.
if you see Tim at Resd, can you say hello to him for me?
Hi, Tim.
And Tim, if you see Coleman, say hello to him for me, will you?
Okay, I'll be
All right,
sure
brilliant.
to. Then.
I'll
Yeah, sure.
require
I will
video
lick his
evidence of this
I know it's
this
a long while
crossing of
since
the
you caught up
streams
with each
happening.
other, so...
Good.
Beautiful. Anyway, that is your lot, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you ever so much for listening. Once again, as always, point your internet at internet/.thing */ Big Red Barrel or whatever it is
You
you
get
put
worse
in.
at internet every week.
Yeah, you got to Big Red Barrel up your internet is what you got to do. Internet.thing / Big Red Barrel. I have been Dan.
I might have been Tim somewhere in between.
I've been a punk turtle.
Yeah, punk turtles, they're the best.
Excellent.
Excellent. So, we shall no doubt nestle inside your head face again soon. So, thank you ever so much for listening. And until next time, dear listeners, toodle bye.
You and your ears are quite welcome.
For the podcasting goodness that you just heard.
Why not roll on over
To BigRedBarel.com.
for more podcasts?
News, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet. BigRedBarel.com.